Welcome to this explainer on Alternate Timeline Zero. Today, we're unpacking a truly bizarre and frankly chilling phenomenon from the Series 01 archives known as the thermal convergence. We're going to uncover how a radically lethal environment completely rewrites the most fundamental human act we possess: speaking.
To really wrap your head around the unforgiving reality of Universe 01, I want you to imagine a world where the simple, everyday act of expressing a vocal emotion is a literal biological death sentence. Seriously, opening your mouth to laugh at a joke, shout across a room, or even just make small talk, it'll kill you instantly. Let's explore exactly how humanity manages to adapt to that completely impossible constraint.
Section 1. The death of vowels.
Okay, so during the first 10 thermal pulses, heat retention became the absolute, undeniable law of survival in this freezing caldera. Let's walk through the lethal chain reaction that dictated this. Step 1, you open your mouth to sound out a classic vowel, right? Like a wide ah or o. Step 2, you immediately inhale sub-zero, heavily sulfurous air directly into your lungs. And step 3, lethal thermal energy loss from your body's core. In this freezing exterior, simply drawing in a deep breath to speak drops your internal temperature so violently that your organs just shut down. It is immediate death. Just think about that for a second. How on earth do you communicate when the air itself is weaponized against your vocal cords?
Well, in our baseline timeline, we rely heavily on open-mouthed, vowel-heavy, deeply emotional vocalizations. We use our mouths as wide acoustic chambers. But in Universe 01, natural selection ruthlessly edits traditional speech completely out of existence. There are literally no classical vowels. Everything is closed lips, highly compressed, and purely structural. If you speak like us, you die. It's this brutal, rapid evolutionary filter that changes human interaction forever.
Section 2. Anatomy of survival.
Humanity didn't just quietly stop talking, Our very biology had to actively restructure itself. Generations of breathing heavy, toxic basaltic ash forced a radical structural evolution in human anatomy. The constant exposure to this gritty, freezing environment led to a complete laryngeal shift. Over time, this resulted in drastically thickened vocal cords and greatly enlarged laryngeal cavities. They literally grew the biological hardware needed to accommodate a totally new way of making sound, a way that didn't require exposing their vulnerable core temperature to the sub-zero air outside.
Section 3. The Click Slate. To replace traditional vowels entirely, humanity developed this fascinating and frankly extreme survival mechanism known as the Click Slate. It's a highly compressed, incredibly low-exposure phonetic system. It allows humans to speak entirely behind closed lips, or at most through very minimal dental gaps. No wide mouths, no beep, freezing breaths. Just a complete linguistic lockdown. This is exactly how you stay warm, protect your lungs from sulfur and ash, and still manage to share vital information with your tribe. The exact mechanics of this totally new language consist strictly of 3 incredibly efficient, low-exposure auditory movements. First, you got high-frequency sounds, and those are generated by dental clicks. Then, rhythmic patterns are created through tongue popping against the roof of the mouth. And finally, deeper, subvocal communication happens via throat hums. And that's it. That is the entire phonetic toolkit of humanity and Universe 01. It's just a stunning example of how severe constraint breeds incredible innovation, allowing them to communicate really complex ideas without ever compromising that vital thermal seal.
Section 4. Language as mathematics.
Now, this intense physical adaptation inevitably led to massive cognitive consequences. Emotional variance through pitch or vowel extension is completely lost. Because the Click Slate operates behind locked jaws and tightly closed lips, the physical ability to convey feelings, the way you and I use tone, pitch, or the length of a sound to express joy, anger, fear, or sadness, it simply doesn't exist anymore. The biological hardware required for vocal emotion has been completely, literally muted by the cold.
So what exactly replaces emotion? Well, instead of acting as symbolic representations of objects or abstract ideas, words evolve into critical, highly exact auditory measurements. Communication becomes all about calculating distance, measuring temperature gradients, and assessing kinetic pressure. The language becomes purely structural. It's mathematical. Imagine instead of saying, "I'm scared," you're clicking to indicate a sudden ambient temperature drop in the tunnel ahead. It's no longer about chatting or socializing. It's about navigating the collective basalt tube they live in. It is purely functional, survival-driven data transmission.
There's a quote from the archival documents that starkly summarizes this grim reality. It says, "To speak is not to express a feeling, but to calculate the immediate thermodynamic state. Communication is no longer about human connection, empathy, or storytelling. It's pure, unfeeling thermodynamic calculation." The environment literally forced them to trade poetry and song for pure, raw survival metrics.
Which leaves us with a pretty haunting question to consider long after this explainer ends. If our environment strips language of its emotion, does our humanity freeze over too? If we can no longer physically speak our feelings, do we eventually stop feeling them altogether? It's a chilling thought experiment about the absolute, unbreakable link between how we speak and who we fundamentally are. I hope this deep dive into alternate timeline 0 has really sparked your curiosity about the resilience and the malleability of human nature. Thank you for learning with me today, and keep exploring the incredible possibilities of what makes us human.